Good morning and happy Passover. Today is the day we celebrate Jesus' Last Supper. At least that's what we call it. It's the dinner he had with his disciples right before he was arrested.
Can I
You
have
want that?
it?
You may
Yeah.
eat that. That is not matzah, but that is a flat cracker. Now I'm going to show you, as close as I could make it, what Jesus would have celebrated with. Part of the Seder meal, it's included at Passover. They would have a hard-boiled egg. That was their symbol for mourning. They would have a burnt bone shank, not bacon. Bacon is made out of pork. Pork is a pig. Jewish people do not like pigs traditionally. They would have had some parsley or spring green, a bitter herb. They would have had what's called horsat, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's chopped up apples and walnuts with red wine, but I don't have wine in the house, so we used orange juice for ours. And then spring greens, romaine lettuce or other kinds of lettuce. They would have matzah, flat bread with no yeast in it, and we have saltine crackers here because that's what we had, but it kind of gives you an idea.
I like to
And they would have salt water. Do you want to try eating the boiled egg? What they would do is they would dip some of the items into the salt water. And the salt water would remind them of the tears that they cried as slaves in Egypt. This whole meal represents the...
Yummy, it's yummy.
You like boiled egg?
Yes, I do.
Oh, good. The whole meal represents the remembering of what God did for them when they were slaves in Egypt.
I like this egg.
You like that egg? Good. In the book of Exodus, chapters 13 and 14, Moses had come back to Egypt. They had done the 10 plagues. And the last plague was the angel of death.
I like this egg a lot.
And they were told, sacrifice a young lamb, put its blood on the doorposts, the top of the door and the sides of the doors, so that the angel of death passes over your house. Now this last plague took the firstborn
I love this egg. I love
male of
I like it egg.
every family that didn't do that. All of the Egyptians, all of the cattle.
Oh, that's so cool.
Typically we don't cuddle with eggs, we just eat them. And after that last plague, Pharaoh got so fed up, he was so angry and mad at Moses and the Hebrew people that he said, fine, go, get out of here. And the reason they have flatbread is because they were told, get ready, be ready to go. This is going to happen. Bake your bread without the yeast. You're not going to have time to let it rise like normal. Have your shoes and your belt on. Have your backpack packed. Be ready to go. And they did. In the middle of the night, Pharaoh, in his distress, told Moses, go, get out of here. So Moses and the Hebrew people started on their journey. Now, God sent them a pillar of light during the night and a pillar of cloud during the day to guide their way as they traveled. But it came to a point where they got to the Red Sea. And they were kind of stuck. At this point, Pharaoh had realized he really did like having slaves around. And he sent his army to go get them. So Moses, where's Moses here? Moses and his sister Miriam, they're stuck. The pillar of fire and cloud moves behind the Hebrews to kind of block all of Pharaoh's army from catching up with them. And then
I got the pizza soup.
God
I got the
tells
pizza soup, Mommy. I got
Moses
the pizza soup.
to lift up
I got pizza
his
soup.
rod
I got pizza soup. I got pizza soup.
and lead the Hebrew people across the Red Sea on dry land. So Moses goes and he holds his rod, and the rest of everybody rushes as fast as they can because they can hear the Egyptian army carrying after them, and they all cross over the Red Sea on dry land to the other side.
Actually, I don't like
And we're just going to do this in rush. Woo! There they go. They're all safe. God saves them. But then, as the pillar moves, the Egyptian army rushes in, and the waves cover them back up.
Actually, I don't like it. Actually, I don't
So
like
every year, they celebrate the miracle that God did in saving them
Mama,
from slavery,
Pokemon.
from being with them in what seemed like impossible situations. They recognize that God is mighty and God is the Savior. There's other parts included in the Passover, but that Seder plate is full of symbolic memories that they remember. They have a lot of traditions and special prayers that they say in between the courses. And then after that, then they do have a party with other dishes and foods. That's not the only thing that they eat. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that. That's to my best understanding from someone who has grown up not celebrating the Passover feast. But I think it's really cool knowing that Jesus would have grown up celebrating this Passover feast every year. And it was tradition, if you could, no matter where you lived, you would travel back to Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover feast in Jerusalem.